Hello, educators. As we all know, every student has a potential to succeed. What they often need is the right support at the right time. Today, I wish to share my views on scaffolding in education, a strategy that makes this possible. And before we proceed, let us discuss the common classroom problems which are faced by teachers. We have diverse learners with different learning abilities. Then there are gaps in their prior knowledge. Some students have low confidence, while others fear failure. And at the same time, they experience cognitive overload due to excessive information. All these challenges, they highlight the need for structured and responsive teaching approaches. And it has been approved that teachers' strategy they significantly impact students' achievement. So let us understand how these challenges can be overcome. And now we are going to discuss about what is scaffolding. It is a teaching strategy where a temporary support is provided to the student in performing the task which he cannot do independently. And when the child is capable enough and has gained confidence to work on it independently, then that support is gradually removed from them. And this concept is known as scaffolding. It is basically to move the child from dependence to independence. And there are various learning theories, psychological theories behind this concept. Let us understand the three important ones. The first one being zone of proximal development that emphasizes on where to teach. This concept was introduced by Lev Vygotsky that refers to the gap between what the child can do independently and where he needs our support. So it is this green zone where using scaffolding techniques we have to work so that this guided support is provided and the child becomes independent and then that support is taken away. Wonderful example of this application was seen in the famous movie Hitchki, where Rani Mukherjee did not directly apply her teaching theories on the students, but she first tried to understand what is their current level, where they are able to work independently. And when she realized that gap, then she started working from there. The another important theory is known as cognitive load theory, and this was proposed by John Sweller. It explains how human brain processes information. So we have a limited working memory which can store 5 to 7 instructions in a span of 20 seconds. And if this memory is over if provided with too much of information, then it is definitely be going to be a memory overload. And when it is a memory overload, that will lead to ineffective learning. So, scaffolding will help by simplifying the contents and reducing that unnecessary load on the working memory. Another important theory that is constructivism that emphasizes on how learning happens. It explains that learning is an active process and knowledge is built on the prior understanding, and students they learn better through inquiry, collaboration and reflection, and teacher here plays the role of a facilitator. So student they don't just receive knowledge but they construct it. And the theory has proved that the active learning leads to 75 to 90% of retention. So all these three theories, they take us to a common topic, that is scaffolding, which is about providing right level of challenge, providing right level of support to the students. When we are providing too easy tasks to the child, it will lead to boredom. And if it is too difficult, the child will be frustrated. So the learner needs proper guided support at the right time, at the right pace, so that they can progress. And this is where this concept of scaffolding bridges this gap. So let us understand the various techniques which can be used in scaffolding. The first such practice is modeling with guided practice, where the teacher will act as a model and using think aloud strategy, she can verbalize the thoughts that is required in performing that particular task. So, for example, if in a maths class, teacher is performing, trying to solve a maths question, so rather than just quietly solving those sum, she can speak out loud what the process is. It can be like, first I will read the question, then I will understand the values which are given to me, and based on that value, I will decide which formula to use. So it will provide a clear guidance to the child that whenever such kind of problems they face or these types of questions are asked, how the child has to perform. So with proper guidance, the child will be able to practice, and definitely during this journey, the teacher will provide the feedback which will further enhance the teaching learning process. So it's very simple. The teacher will demonstrate first, then support the child will practice, and then the child will become an independent learner. Another important strategy that can be used is flexible grouping. The group should be based on the similarity in their learning ability, so that if there is a group of novice learners and another group of advanced learners, so the teacher knows that the support for the advanced learner is not that much required, which is needed by the novice learner. So the advanced learner can perform the task with just a small support and a monitoring, whereas teacher can emphasize more on the novice learners. And when during this teaching learning process, when the teacher observes that the child, the group of novice learners are able to perform, then she can take away that support. So the child who was not able to perform a task independently will, with the support, be able to do it. Another strategy is using visuals and statistics. We have to use visuals, that is, images, pictures, posters, to support the understanding, simplify the complex information, and highlight only what needs to be emphasized on. So, the data, the statistics should be very clear but not confusing. Then, as I said, the right support is required by the right every child. So we have to ensure that in always emphasizing on the novice learner, we are not ignoring the advanced learners. Advanced learners, they also need our support. And how can we support them? By providing the challenging tasks, by reducing the unnecessary guidance that we provide, because they are capable enough to perform the task independently. And we have to encourage their independent learning, because if we are providing too much of support, that might lead to expertise reversal effect. So we have to ensure right support, neither too much nor too less. Avoid split attention. What does it mean? Do not provide the information to children in a staggered manner. Means you have kept the images somewhere else, you are referring to another screen. That will unnecessarily create confusion, and it is going to put more stress on their working memory. So when you are providing separate sources, it overloads the working memory. So keep the text and visuals together so that your explanation is well aligned with the visuals, and that will help them in a better learning. There is no point of providing the same information again and again. So try to avoid duplication of data so as to ensure that there is no cognitive overload. So, for example, if whatever is written on the screen, the same is being read by the teacher. So it is better key points are written and then teacher is discussing that with the children. Manage transient information. Now, transient information are the ones that disappears quickly, such as the spoken explanation. For example, during lecture method, when we are in a pace to complete a topic and we are just in our own word of explanation, and we forget that what we are trying to explain is not getting into the child's working memory. So it is important that the pace should be followed. Whatever we want to convey, that should get conveyed to the child. So we have to give ample time to the children to process what is being taught. So understand their needs and then accordingly follow your pace. So what happens is when you are performing these teaching strategies in the class, so there are different techniques like use pacing, discussing a topic, then wait for the students to absorb, then continue. Use pauses in between when you are taking a bigger topic, or chunking, breaking the large information into small bits, small pieces, which can be easily absorbed by the students. The next important strategy, gradual release model. This is a very important concept, and it is actually very relatable if we see here. Initially, in this model, says the teacher responsibility is more. You can see this in this triangle, the base is very broad. So, the teacher responsibility is more in the beginning, where the emphasis is on modeling. That means I do and you watch, and gradually, in the process of learning, what happens? The teacher has demonstrated, the child is performing, the teacher is helping the child in performing the task which he is struggling somewhere. So it is we do or you do. So together, that concept is being built up in the student with the help of the teacher. And then the last part of this triangle, if you see, which says you do alone. That means the child has become independent in performing a task which he was earlier doing with the teacher's support. So, the learning responsibility of learning has moved from teacher to the student. So, this is a wonderful strategy that we should use, keep in mind while delivering our lecture. How scaffolding is useful? It helps in dealing with the classroom challenges. How? The complex topics can be taught using modeling or chunking. If the student's dependency is observed, use gradual release method. For advanced learners, not to get bored, we have to give complex tasks to them. Then, in case of mixed ability sections or mixed ability groups, try to divide them into flexible groupings. And if there is an overload, then manage the cognitive load. So we can see that how scaffolding is helpful in providing the targeted solutions to the classroom challenges. And so I can conclude that it is the scaffolding which helps to build learners' confidence, improves engagement, promotes independence, and so that the child or the learner who was dependent gradually becomes an independent learner. And that is the goal of the teachers, that with our efforts, with our guided efforts, the student who are dependent learners transform into independent learner. So I hope the learning which I have experienced and shared with you must be helpful for you. Thank you for watching. Thank you so much.